Good morning, happy Monday, and welcome to the number one Group of Five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share it with your family and friends, or you can download the Varsity app for free. Listen to the show on there. On this episode, championship games are set. Locations are set. The transfer portal is already wide open. We got coaches on the moves. We got post-game brawls and rivalry games and flag planting. Plenty more. Plus, we got a big announcement. I hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I, for one, did. A little tired, of course, and that is why, Jeff, of course, I have a nice hot cup of Cosmic Christmas Deca Gray coffee. I mean, no cream, no sugar. Tastes fantastic.
It's that time of year. Christmas is upon us.
Man, nice and warm, too. It's cold. It is cold, but look, make sure you go support Deca Gray Coffee Company. Visit decagray.com. Use our promo code GOFG, 10% off plus free shipping. They now have subscriptions on there. All kinds of good stuff for light, medium, dark roast. Of course, the Group of Five guys game day dark roast on there. Roast to order coffee. You click purchase. They roast it. They put it in the bag, delivered directly to your doorstep at decagray.com. Jeff, how was your Thanksgiving, pal?
And it was great. It was pretty low key. Saturday we did or Sunday, my apologies, did the family thing with Scarlett at her parents' house, and then really just kind of did a little Thanksgiving breakfast on Thursday and kind of just hung out. It was great. Didn't really do much. Kind of laid around, watched some ball, and you mentioned it's cold. It's like 60 degrees in my pod right now, and I got the heater going.
Really?
But luckily, I got this Deca Gray. It's keeping me warm. And Christmas decorations are now up. It's the now appropriate time, people. If you were wondering, now you can put up your Christmas decorations. The tree's up. Lights on the house are up. Permanent lights on the house, by the way. I found these on the internet. They're awesome.
Fold up?
And I can control them on my phone. They go up underneath the eaves around my house. I can turn any which one I want on or off. So, when Christmas is over, I just select which ones I want on. It's like I just got more house lighting around the house.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty fancy. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, Deli's been raking in the money. I guess.
Man, they're actually pretty reasonable. I mean, I know my people I've been talking to was like, had my lights put up. I was like, how much did I figured out?
I know. So I'm not
people
doing
are spending to put their lights up. Forget it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it this year. Well, I you guys know my roof is. It's unsafe for a lone wolf to go up there, and I'm not gonna buy or borrow somebody's ginormous extension ladder. I'm not gonna have the fire department come out here just to get on the roof. No. So we're not having Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. We will not be at my house, so I'm not doing it. My guy that I normally
blow-ups in the front yard, call it a day.
I can't. I don't like doing that. First of all, ruins the grass. First of all, Second of all, then you deflate them in the morning and you got these just blobs laying all over the front yard. Sorry, I never not that poor, Jeff.
Geez, Scrooge.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm not doing them. My guy that I normally pay just a couple $100, he's not responding, so possibly he fell off somebody else's roof.
Prayers go out to that guy.
Yeah. So we're not doing them, but Inside's been, of course, since freaking November 1. But anyway, I went and saw the new Gladiator movie on Friday morning, Jeff.
How was it? I've heard mixed reviews.
Not great.
Really? That's unfortunate.
Good, very entertaining, right? A lot of violence, a lot of action. Storyline left a lot to be desired, in my opinion.
Everyone I've talked to has said that the storyline is,
and I don't want to give spoilers away, but it's if you know the first one, I mean, the first one is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like you're sort of watching the same movie again, and I'll leave it at that. Like you're like, oh man, I know what he's going to say here. I know what's going to happen here. And I'll also say I love Denzel Washington. Like he's a great actor, but he's also the same actor in every movie. So I'm just watching Herman Boone, fighting Roman battles. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, he's still got that Brooklyn accent a little bit that he's got. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't think they spoke like that.
Yeah, I'll probably wait for it to come out on
good flick. I mean, decent flick. It's funny. We went to the theater. My wife took the kids to see the new Moana, and all the men went to see Gladiator. So it was a good time. But then we got to watch ball. And Jeff, let me tell you,
another wild weekend, Sprouse.
Has this entire season not been a microcosm of being a football fan? Every week it seems like, especially the last like 2 or 3 weeks, it's every team that has it all. Here's your platter. Here it is, guys. All you got to do is play like you've been playing all season long, and they just take it and smack the platter out of your hand, and food goes all over the place, and you have a disaster. I mean, I was devastated after the Tulane Memphis game. And then look, what's funny is, Jeff, I went back and looked at, our conference previews. I had Memphis beating Tulane in the conference championship game.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, well, I didn't have them the week before, not affecting the conference championship game at all, other than making it go to West Point. But anyway, so championship games are set. A lot of good games coming this weekend. We'll talk about those games here in a minute. But I want to get to a couple things. The portal's wide open. The coaches are on the move already. A lot, North Carolina job, West Virginia job. And here's what I hate. What I hate is guys like Barry Odom, Charles Huff. I know the chat's kind of talking about Huff right now. But John Summerall, these names, Jeff Monken at Army too is going to be a hot name. These guys are playing in championship games, and their names have been, spinning around the rumor mill now for 2 or 3 weeks. Every time a job opens, Summerall and Odom are linked to it. And you just hate it because you've seen it happen at Liberty with Hugh Freeze. You've seen it happen at Coastal with Jamie Chadwell. You see it happen all over the place. You saw it happen with Tulane last year with Willie Fritz. It's like your head coach everybody knows they're gone, at that point. And I don't know, it seems like a lot of these are just rumors, like from anybody, whatever inside sources we have or don't have. It doesn't seem like there's any truth to like Summerall or Odom yet. But I don't know, man. You just hope it doesn't affect the players and affect the games. And you especially hope that something like that doesn't happen when you get to the playoff, whether you get Odom or Danielson in the playoff that might not play for a month. You have a whole month of rumors. And if they were to take a job, you're going to have a month of trying to recruit for some other school while coaching at this school. You're going to have guys opting out or entering the portal. So
it's crazy because, you look at Summerall and Daniels, like those are all first year guys. Odom's a second year guy. So it's like, it fuels the sentiment that these schools and fan bases are so quick to pull the trigger on somebody. It's like, I think all three of those guys are great coaches, but they've also, and some are all coming from Troy, had a good track record, but it's just been like 1 or 2 years, guys.
Yeah.
Like, let them build a resume before you, like, if I'm an AD somewhere, I mean, I know you have relationships with a lot of people who are saying that these guys are great coaches, but it's like I almost think it's too quick to hire them out just after a year of success somewhere. I don't know. I don't like it either. It just ruins the vibe, and like you don't know what's true and what's not. These you just have like, I put something on this yesterday. I was like, who has the time to make fake burner accounts and just throw out nonsense and talk crap with, just behind a keyboard? Like, who's got that time? I got a business, 3 kids, a pod that I'm doing. Like, I have no time to make a burner account just to talk shit. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it sucks that it happens at the most important time of the year for those coaches, because the coaches that are in the rumor mill are the ones having success, and the ones having success are getting ready to play for championships, and at least one of them is going to get ready to play for a potential national championship. So it's frustrating because, and then but Jeff, what it shows is it shows how impulsive some of these athletic departments have been. We talked about it a few weeks back when we talked about conference realignment. And we talked about, they're just jumping at the next shiny thing. It kind of seems that way, whether it be firing a coach or hiring a coach. And I think, again, I don't know. It just sucks. And then you feel bad for the players because they have to make a decision at that point, right? Because they're going to limit the rosters. So some of these guys are going to have to get in the portal. They're not going to have a choice. The coach is going to tell them, get in the portal. We don't have a spot for you next year. So, we get up here and we talk kind of negatively about the portal, but sometimes they got to get in. And those kids, I hate to say it, if they're probably not going to find a home. And a lot of them are going to think that they're going, up a level or lateral, but you're probably not. I mean, honestly, you're probably going to have to go down a level or, go FCS or Division II or something, because I don't know where they're going to find a spot for you.
Well, this is where I just so badly want contracts or term limits on these scholarships or whatever, and revenue sharing's coming next summer as everything looks to be. And, this would protect the student athlete as well. Because if you signed a contract or a scholarship or whatever you want to call it, you negotiate terms, how long that's going to be. And if it's me as a player, like, I want some protection. I don't want just 1 year. That way, if I get hurt and then I get dumped the next year or told to go in the portal, like, for me, I'd sign a 2-3 year deal, and then you're locked into that. Whereas, it protects the player from something happening. It also protects the university and knowing that, I really like this kid. I want to lock him down. I think he's got potential and growth. Like, I'm going to lock him down for 2-3 years. But now what you have, and we know a lot of coaches at this point, know a lot of ADs, know a lot of collectives. Like, you're getting agents are just basically taking over. Mm-hmm. And I know it from firsthand that coaches aren't even really having conversations when they're recruiting kids with the players anymore. Like, the agents are basically coming in and saying, this is the value of this kid. Or agents are contacting collectives, or agents are contacting coaches. Be like, hey, I know you're looking for a receiver or running back. This player is $100,000. That's where it starts at. And, I guess these coaches being like, $100,000 for what? They have no stats. What is this, off practice film? Like, I'm confused here. So, like, it's getting so crazy that we've gotten to this point, and we've seen some big names hop in the portal from Group of 5 schools. And guys, I'm going to tell you again, I hope you're making the right choice for the right reasons. If an agent's telling you they can get you $200,000, $250,000, and you're still enrolled at a school, like, literally the season ended Saturday for you guys, there's no way they're being able to have conversations, number one, with coaches, And if they are, I'm not sure that's the type of people you want to be involved with.
Well, Jeff, we've seen it happen. The agents, a lot of these agents, right? You basically have had now a need or a market for an agent, and the demand is too high, right? So now you have people that are less qualified that are being these agents. And what's happening is they're just DMing like collectives on social media. Hey, what position you're, and they're bypassing the coaching staff. So, I'm going to speculate here. We go back to the Sluka situation at UNLV, right? And that was the big thing is there was nothing in writing. The coaches were like, I don't know. And my opinion and my thought is these agents DM a collective or somebody on the collective and say, hey, my player's worth $100,000, or we're not going to talk unless $100,000 is on the table. And then some collective is like, we could maybe get that, or we could probably get that. And then agent goes back and promises the kid, yep, 100,000 at so-and-so school. Yep. Got it. And then the coaches are like, what? we never even spoke to you. Like, we never even, like, when did this come up? And I think that's what we're having. These agents are sort of, they're trying to increase their players' value, which I realize that's an agent's job, but a lot of it is just completely fabricated. And then you go to these, the recruiting websites. We talk bad about the recruiting websites and their star rankings all the time. Well, now they're ranking NIL value. Says who? Says what? Like, I just don't. And again, like, I don't want to get too down the rabbit hole on this with these recruiting websites, but listen, there's a reason that they upgrade stars when a player commits to a Texas or an Alabama or a Georgia. It's because they know that those fan bases are going to pay their little subscription so they can run around town talking about how good the recruiting class was again. That's why they do it. So it's not because some website has a bunch of people going to every high school practice in the country and watching tape and watching film. No, they might go to a 7-on-7 tournament, which we got to get into that here in a little bit too. 7-on-7 tournaments, or they might go to some elite quarterback camp where somebody's running around in pajama pants and they get a scholarship offer from Tennessee and they say, oh, let's add a star to them because Tennessee fans will pay. They love that. They love to see that on the subscription. So now they're doing the same thing with NIL value. And they're just throwing these arbitrary numbers out there. Oh, kid's a high school quarterback in the state of Florida, must be worth $150,000. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's baffling. And then the kids believe it. Of course they do. If I saw a website say I was worth $200,000, of course I would believe it. And then I would probably tell my agent, On3 says I'm worth $200,000. And then my agent is going to go to some school, some collective, and be like, Sprouse worth $200,000. We're not coming unless he gets it. And they're just like, okay, well, enjoy the 1,500 kids in the portal then. Hang out with them.
It's wild. And it's becoming, I know Sam in the chat says agents aren't really a problem yet, but yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the top players around the country, even in the group of 5, that have these agents, and they're just, I'm telling you, they're giving bad advice, and they're not having conversations with the coaches at the school they're enrolled at because they're not involved in that. They want them to go somewhere else to increase their value so they can make more money. That's not always the best decision. Maybe it is sometimes, but if you're solely doing it for the dollar amount, I think that's the wrong decision. Like, it's got to be the dollar amount combined with, having conversations with a coach, but you can't do any of that until you're in the portal. And you got these teams, that are, either not making a bowl game. So it's like, I got to get in it. Their agents are saying, I got to get in it right now. The quicker you get in, the quicker I can negotiate your value and talk to all these different schools and collectives. Like, it is a problem because it's affecting recruiting, it's affecting programs. And like, the season literally ended 2 days ago. Like,
well, yeah, Jeff. And I think the even bigger problem is not the star players. I think the agents are the bigger problem with the average Joe that's getting, I don't know, 10 snaps a game or maybe less. And they have an agent. And like, I saw a tweet, and I wish I remember who it was, but it was like a quote. It was like a sarcastic tweet. And it said, a player you've never heard of has entered the portal. article written by somebody who owes some agent a favor. So that's what you have. You have somebody in the, on social media that owes an agent a favor. So they pump up the story and everybody sees the story. Like, who's that? I don't know who that guy is. Like, why is this guy transferring? Like, we don't have nobody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I think the big issue comes in too. But I know we gotta move on. And I brought up 7-on-7, but this is going to go into the next thing. And this happened all over the country this weekend, these post-game brawls, Jeff, and this flag planting. I don't know, man. I've never liked, I think you win and you lose a certain way. And I think the way to win is you go beat their ass on the field and you go celebrate with your teammates. And you can, whatever, you can, taunting. I get taunting during the game. I don't like it after. I don't like it after because that's just something that's going to continue on and you're going to instigate stuff like this. But I also think, even more importantly, I think if somebody, planting a flag, like, okay, like, I mean, what? See, it's all turf anyway. The flags always fall over as soon as they try to plant them in the ground. But to get so emotional and want to fight somebody over it is crazy to me. Like, again, it's the old, it's not a saying or whatever, but it's the old mindset of where was that fight the last 3 hours when y'all were playing in the game? And I think it stems from, I think these kids are too damn emotional now. There's no like solid control of emotions anymore. And I think it stems from, we went back a few weeks ago, we talked about, what did we talk about? The Pee-wee kids doing the, smacking their opponent in the ass with a belt, like saying we just whipped their ass. These kids are like 7-8 years old and their coaches are letting them do stuff like that. And then you go to 7-on-7 tournaments that are put on by these big brands and by these recruiting websites. You got kids running around in their underwear, dancing on camera. You got all these media, they got cameras in their faces. Everybody's in their face trying to make them do something that's not football. And then that leads to stuff like this because they're taught from the time they're 6, 7, 8 years old, the first time they put pads on, like to taunt and to celebrate. And like, again, celebrating is not taunting, right? So celebrating to me is fine. But when you celebrate in somebody's face, that's taunting. So they start doing that at 7, 8 years old. Then they go to high school and they got cameras in their face. They want them to taunt. They want them to say stuff. They're being like, well, talk some trash about your opponent, put a camera in their face. And then, of course, now they're 18, 19, 20. And now it means something to them, right? A little bit, but that's all they know. They don't know how to, and I know I'm talking about a few kids here. I'm not talking about the whole team or whatever, but like, I don't know, man. I saw the kid from Ohio State like crying. They're not going to plant an effing flag again. Well, I mean, they've done it the past 4 years.
Yeah. Play better.
You play better. Yeah. And again, like Michigan, don't do that. And I got to give credit because I think it was Sarkisian at Texas. Like they started to do it and he like sprinted out there. Nope, not doing that. Like, to me, that's better. Like now the focus is on the game that you just won versus the post-game. Michigan, yeah, bad year. You just beat Ohio State. And now we're talking about how your players are getting pepper sprayed because nobody can control their emotions on the field. Instead of the fact that you just played a damn good game and beat your rival.
Yeah,
it didn't happen in the group of 5 at all, did it? I don't think.
I don't think so.
It's just
a disease of me that young people are, and I got 3 boys. Like I'm, the biggest thing I'm trying to teach them, man, is be humble. Like you can be a dog and be humble out on the field and, show it with your play, show it with your actions. You need to talk. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. And when you're just seeing it, you already hit on it. I mean, it's from Pee-wee football all the way up. All it is me. Look at me. Look at my cleats. Look at my gloves. Look at, the thing that I wrote. Like, and it's all relatively harmless until, it starts affecting ball games. But it just builds this mantra that the most important thing is me when it's a team sport. And that's like life lessons that we're teaching kids. And most of the kids aren't going to play in the NFL. They're not going to play. They're not going to get Division I scholarships. So then they go into their job and it's all about me. And it's just going to be detrimental, you know. I mean, the things that help me build my business, you know, and building a family is the things that I learned playing sports. And it wasn't, you know, it just wasn't about back then about me. It wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and that also, I think, goes into the whole NIL and portal thing, right? The me attitude. And actually, I'm going to give credit, even though I think a lot of his career, he seemed like a me guy. Cam Newton had a great monologue about, it was somebody, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody in the NFL that a bunch of his teammates called him out about not coming to meetings because he's upset he's not getting the ball or something, or he's been coming late to meetings. And Cam Newton on his show went back and was like, well, let's look at this guy's past. And he transferred twice in college, transferred twice in high school. And it's like, yeah,
there you go.
I mean, it's a continuous, this is not perfect. I'm going elsewhere. This is not perfect. I'm going to try something else. Coach don't like me. I'm going elsewhere. I'm not playing enough. I'm going elsewhere. You know, don't like our schedule. I'm going elsewhere. And it's like, you know, what happened to staying and building something? And again, there's circumstances when you absolutely should transfer. Nobody's saying that. But when you look at it, and then what Cam Newton said was like, most kids don't have the NFL, right? So the kid that transfers 3 times in high school transfers 3 times in college, then he's going to get a job. You can't just do that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you hear a hiring manager? I mean, you own your own business, so I don't know, Jeff. You look at a resume, and somebody has 10 jobs in the last year, like, it's a red flag.
Yeah.
Can't do that. I don't know, man.
Speaking of flags, Judge Huckins says, I need to run by the nearest Subway and plant my Domenico's flag in front of their store.
Yeah.
See what happens.
You absolutely should.
Bunch of high school kids, but what's going on?
Well, yeah, they wouldn't have a clue. But again, high school kids, they'd probably be too emotional. They come out and try to fight you, Jeff.
That's true. I don't need that in my life. Well, you brought up coaches. Kennesaw State's got a new coach.
Yes, they do.
Jerry Mack, running backs coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bounced around quite a bit. Position coach at Memphis, South Alabama. Was a head coach at North Carolina Central. So he didn't have a productive 4 years there. Then had a little NFL stint.
Well, I'll tell you, with his background and his experience, especially the NFL experience, that ought to be a draw, especially around Atlanta like that. I like it, right? So far, I mean, I don't know the guy.
Yeah.
Kennesaw State. I don't know that they could have had like a horrible hire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. So they got a new one. Who else hired? Rice. That was last week. Rice hired a coach. ECU stuck with Blake Harrell.
Yeah.
Temple going to get Casey Keeler, it appears, out of Sam Houston. Interesting.
It's got to be more money, more resources because you're in the American. That's a tough place to win, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam Houston's, from what everything, you know, I don't know a ton about him, but I think that's, you know, he's helped build that program into what it is, but it wasn't always that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting one. And then, of course, the big rumor is Huff to Southern Miss, which, yeah, it seems like
confused on that.
Well, it seems like they've never really got along, but right. They're winning, so they're like making it work. But that's interesting. Interconference. I mean, some tradition and history at Southern Miss, but not currently.
Yeah.
Not what Marshall's got. So I don't know, man.
Maybe he's trying to work a new deal.
Yeah, maybe his agent.
I want him to stay at Marshall.
Maybe his agent. And that's the other thing, right? You look at coaches and you look in the NFL and stuff. These agents do plant. I mean, some of this could be completely fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to get an extension. But according to the chat here and according to some things, they've offered him extensions. His wife don't like it there.
Really?
That's what I think. Not sure why we have somebody in our chat.
Mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
That's not sure why we have somebody in our chat with a GBO title, Jeff. That's a little frustrating, but you have to change that. You want to get in here, GBO Farms. We don't support that. But he said, yeah, that person said apparently his wife made it known she hates it in Huntington. They've tried to give him 2 extensions. The last 2 years, he declined both.
Wow. So she's just going to go out with a Sunbelt championship, riding off into the sun.
But I mean, Hattiesburg, maybe they're from down that way.
Maybe.
I have to look. I mean, I will say this for these coaches: if you're a Southern guy, and your family's Southern, or if you're like a West Coast guy and your family has to come to the South, that is a huge change. And that's something we don't ever talk about when we talk about coaches and stuff. We don't ever talk about their families and their kids and the schools, things like that, things that matter outside of the football field. So now again, Hattiesburg, I've been there, hadn't been to Huntington yet, but I don't know. I don't know about that.
See.
I mean,
we'll see
warm
after
weather
this
is
weekend.
one thing, but
it'll pop off. If something's true to that story, it'll after the championship game.
Well, you'll know. Well, the rumors will keep coming harder and harder and harder.
So
and
Louisiana by a million or what?
Yep, that's exactly it. The Louisiana Marshall will come out there flat as can be, and then an hour after the game, Huff the Southern Miss will be official. Pete Thamel will tweet it out, and then you'll know. That's what'll happen. That's what happens with these games. But anyway, so we got to talk about. So first, we got a big announcement, guys. Big announcement. So Jeff and I mean, I'm telling you, we had a plan that was foolproof, and then Tulane lost to Memphis. So now, then we had to circle the wagons. We had to figure this thing out because there was a lot of places we could go. And we really wanted to go to Boise, right? But we looked at it like this. First of all, flights are outrageous to get to that town. I mean, outrageous. And we thought, well, we'll try our damnedest to go to the playoff game. So do we want to go watch Boise or UNLV twice, right? Back to back. And then, I've been talking about getting these guys to Lafayette for years. We've been to Lafayette, seen Marshall a couple times. They're renovating a bunch. And it looks like 60% chance of rain on Saturday out in Lafayette. So Jeff has convinced me we're going to go to West Point on Friday, and it's going to be 20 degrees at kickoff. And I, for one, am panicking about this because I have no idea I need to go to the store. I need recommendations on what I need to purchase. I possibly need some snow boots. I don't know. So anyway, we're going to go to West Point, get there Thursday night, hang out Friday, get out of there Saturday morning so we can get home and watch all the Saturday games. But yeah, we're excited, man. I mean, it's going to be cold, but that was the only negative about West Point, right? It's going to be cold. And had Tulane beat Memphis, our plan, we already had, this was like set in stone. We had stuff penciled in already. We were going to go to New Orleans Friday night and then drive over to Lafayette on Saturday and catch both of them. But naturally, that silver platter that was handed to the Wave was tossed right back in our face. And at that point, that game would have meant a potential playoff berth for Tulane, if they won that game. So now, little less anticipation on the game, but I will say a little more anticipation on getting to West Point, seeing campus, seeing that community, seeing those facilities, and for what it's worth, half that stadium missing view of the Hudson during the game.
Come on. The banks of the mighty Hudson will be there. It's going to be freezing cold. I'm excited for it, though. A lot of history, a lot of tradition. We played against Georgia Tech in our time at Middle, but I hadn't seen a triple option team play like this Army team, so I'm fired up to see it. I want to see kneecaps being cut by the offensive line. Like, I got to see what this thing's about. Get to see Captain America live in the flesh.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I know it's wasn't ideal, but we're gonna make the best out of it. And you don't know, Army's hadn't been in I feel like hadn't been this good in a while. And I just feel like we got to take opportunity. We wanted to get out to Boise, man, but that, we're still self-funded, boys and girls. So
yeah, I saw people putting that Boise wasn't expensive. Buddy, I'm gonna tell you right now, Atlanta to Boise was no less than $1,000.
Yeah, it's about the same. Nashville,
and that was before we even started looking at hotels and rental cars.
Then they said you could fly into SLC, the Salt Lake, and drive
like
4 hours, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to do that. I got a Sunday thing that I need to try and at least get back for. Yeah, it's wild. Excited though.
Cold,
it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be all right, Sprouse. You got thermal socks, you got your leggings,
buddy.
We're gonna be just fine.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Can't
I don't
wait.
have anything group of five guys logoed
I
that
do.
fits that.
I got
Yeah,
my
you
nice
got that
little fuzzy
stupid ass hat.
Stupid. Bite your tongue.
Yeah. Well, oh, Joe, World Casino. I bet it's warm in there, buddy.
Wait, there's a casino up there?
Catskill. We're staying in Fishskill. I don't. Yeah, that's the other thing about New York. Yeah, the state of New York. All their cities are named like this: Catskill, Fishskill. What are we doing? Why is it named that? Can somebody enlighten me on that? We're up near Poughkeepsie, I think. Something's in Poughkeepsie. What's famous out of Poughkeepsie? I think something's famous out of there. We'll have to look that up. But anyway, we'll be up there. It'll be cold. I can tell you right now, we ain't gonna be doing a whole lot of getting out on the town in that city.
No,
I mean, not that there's not stuff going on. It's just
we're also gonna try and do a show Friday. Not sure where yet, because no way we can do it outside with equipment and how cold that is. But we'll see. We're gonna try and do our best to figure out a spot to do a show on the banks of the Hudson.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd
Look like freaking Dumb and Dumber riding in on a scooter. Yeah. Yeah, in the chat there, no typical in-game behavior. I would probably have typically pre-game behavior. Now, how's the tailgate scene? That's what I'm curious about. Is it any Buffalo Bills style tailgating happening? I know the cadets have to behave themselves, but maybe some alumni, some upperclassmen might be able to get after it a little bit. Typically in the game, we haven't, we're typically on the field, so we're behaving ourselves. We're not drinking or nothing during the game. Now, if they sell coffee or hot chocolate, it's probably where I'll be. Anyway, Jeff, we got to talk about these games. So let's talk about the American first. That was the game. That was really the only really unexpected game, was that Memphis and Tulane game. You got to give credit to Memphis. Again, this is how Memphis has been for us all year. It's like, I'm disappointed in Memphis because I know that they're this good. And this is why a lot of Memphis fans, and I'm not sitting here calling for anybody's job, this is why a lot of Memphis fans want to move on from Silverfield, because they are this good. But every couple of weeks, they just don't look this good for no real apparent reason. I mean, you look at the way they played in this game, and then you go back and look at the Navy game and the UTSA game, and you're thinking like, man, where was this? Because again, preseason, I had Memphis over Tulane in the American Championship game. I think Jeff had Tulane over Memphis in the American Championship game. And I think we both said winner of that game, Memphis Tulane, this week was going to host. And Memphis just dropped one that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, and I got to say this. Tulane's receivers did not help Darian Mensah. I mean, I counted at least 5 or 6 drops. You factor that into 21 of 33. I mean, you're looking at Mensah being damn near close to 70% completion percentage. He played, I thought, phenomenal. But you got to give credit to Memphis's defense, only giving up 57 rushing yards to Tulane team that's been pounding the rock all year long. And then then flip the coin, and Tulane's defense gave up 242 rushing yards. I was like, I mean, it's I thought, it's not the team we've seen.
I thought Tulane, their second level, their linebackers, there were several plays where they just didn't fit right. A couple times where, not to call anybody out, there's a couple plays when Grubbs there's like a big pile up. Running back was being patient, and they would just kind of fit in there, head down, just kind of run in there aimlessly, and then Memphis back would make the cutback, and there was just a wide open lane. They weren't fitting. And then, you go back to Tulane's receivers, the drops, but then you have 2 fumbles inside the 10-yard line. I mean, that's your game, right? I mean, Tulane probably wins that game if they don't fumble those. So just one of those games.
And then Hennigan, he comes out slinging the ball, like looking like freaking Joe Montana. It's wild.
I know.
Memphis is one of the most inconsistently really, really good teams.
Yeah.
We've all year we've seen.
Yeah, well, that was one of the first games for them where they put it all, they put it all together. They've won. Obviously, that's their 10th win of the year. But even when they've won, they haven't looked as good as they looked that night. But man, hey, credit to them. It's a damn good team, Memphis is. Now, again, this is where the committee and things like that, it's frustrating because, Tulane is not going to get a pass for that game. And rightfully so. I don't think that they should, right? They have 3 losses now. And, the other 2 losses, you could say what you want. They were early, freshman quarterback, bad officiating. But, Tulane is not going to get a pass for laying an egg against Memphis. But, Alabama is going to get a pass for laying an egg against Oklahoma and laying an egg against Vanderbilt. Georgia is going to get a pass for, Georgia barely beats Georgia Tech and
doesn't move.
And it's all how good Georgia is. What a comeback, tough, gritty, hard-nosed team. And then anybody else in the, loses a game or barely wins a game and it's, they collapse. Terrible. Get them out of there. I don't know. It's crazy, man. I see these people it's so funny. I was reading a Twitter thread yesterday where somebody said a Pac-12 team is about to win the Big Ten. A Big 12 team is about to win the SEC. An American team is about to win the ACC. So all this narrative of these conferences being better than the next one is getting debunked. And then somebody got on there, I think it was a Florida fan, got on there and was like, okay, yeah, Texas might win it this year and everybody in the worst year ever for the SEC. Oh. So is it a bad year? Or like which one is it, right? Is it strength of schedule, SEC, dominant, or is it a bad year? Which, like I've been saying, is the only difference this year is that Georgia and Alabama are not as good. Everybody else is about the same. They're pretty good, really good even, but there's not the elite Georgia, the elite Alabama, because don't get it twisted. The SEC wasn't beating up on each other when Alabama was rolling. Alabama was beating up on the SEC. Good Georgia was beating up on the SEC, but you didn't see this. And so, but anyway, it's pretty comical who gets a pass for playing bad and who doesn't. And then, hey, you go to Army UTSA, you got to give credit to Army. Bouncing back after that Notre Dame game, that takes a lot. And that was something, I got on here and predicted that they wouldn't be able to do it. So real big time bounce back game, and now they get to host. And has anybody and Independence about to win the American. Yeah, there you go, Joe. It was the Texas Tech head coach. It's I forget what I was going to say right there. Oh, has an academy team ever won both the conference and the Commander-in-Chief's trophy? I don't think so. Army's always been independent, so when they've won it, they couldn't have. Air Force, I don't think, has ever won the Mountain West. Navy would have been the only one to be able to do it, but I don't know that they've won the American.
I don't think they have.
So this could be historic, Jeff. Now, of course, they got to go beat Navy next week. It's neither here nor there. But you got to give credit. And then UTSA, man, they had a chance.
They did.
They had a chance. They threw that late interception. Trying to get it all at once. They threw that late pick.
Yeah, Old McCown has 2 interceptions. I was just happy for Army because you see, after a big loss, a lot of times you're beat up. Momentum is down now. You've lost a lot of it. You got banged up, but they came out and played honestly a UTSA team that's been trending up. That's been a hot team, and they just handle business. Bryson Daly, 190 yards passing, had a touchdown, and then had 2 more on the ground with almost 150 yards rushing. So that dude's he's probably the player that I'm most excited to see live this weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree, and excited to see, or I don't know if I'm excited or not, but see how Tulane's defense handles having to tackle that over and over and over and over in 20-degree weather. So that's going to be something to watch because that's not going to feel good at all. Then you go to Conference USA. You got Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. First game was Liberty and Sam Houston. Sam Houston got the win and was alive, waiting to see what happened with Western and Jack State. I got to tell you again, Jeff, Salter's body language is just bad. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad guy per se. I just think you're the quarterback, man. And his giggles and I don't know, man. I don't like it. And then he
Yeah.
goes immediately after the game and starts going back and forth with fans, which, fans are going to do what they do. And a lot of times it's unwarranted, but man, like, again, we're like, it's that emotional maturity, right? And he did not play well. I mean, he got pulled for a minute there. Big run at the end of the game to try and come back and tie it. But Liberty just all year, they just were not nearly as good as they were last year. From the offensive line perspective, and then from Salter, his play, you miss the receiver, right? Big time. But they just weren't very good this year.
Yeah, we said it. We said it was year one just a situation where everything just went their way, and they made incredible plays and were able to run the table and go undefeated. I think it was definitely a little bit of that. I think their offensive line has had some issues, but yeah, I don't know if it's a nervous thing with Salter, but I'm with you. I mean, stuff like that, transcends throughout the entire team. From a quarterback, you have to be locked in every single play. You have to be, the calm driving force throughout at least the offense, if not the entire team. So you saw too much up and down with him. And yeah, I'm not a fan of going right to Twitter afterwards. Like, dude, just keep it in the locker room, but got to give credit to Hunter Watson. Got to give credit to Simeon Evans, 6 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns for Sam Houston. Great performance. And you see the 2 new teams in Conference USA are the ones that have been battling for the conference championship, or at least a spot.
Yep. Well, then you got the later game, Western Kentucky at Jack State, it was Jack State at Western Kentucky. The story here is Tyler Huff went out. And if he can't play, I don't know. I don't know what his status is. It might have been precautionary to pull him for the rest of the game, but if he can't play, Western might be your favorite. You got to give credit to Western's kicker. Carniero goes 4 for 4, hits a 50-yard blast, just absolutely splashes it to win the game. I mean, some big-time special teams play over this weekend.
Hey, we bag kickers and punters a lot, so shout out to Lucas. That was a bomb to be perfect on the day. I mean, you're why the team won. Yeah. You are why the team won. So credit to him. Great performance. But yeah, Tyler Huff's a big story. We got to keep an eye on that. Be checking the injury reports throughout the week. If anybody has any updates on it, please let us know. But when they changed to him earlier in the season, it changed the whole course of that team. Yep. The whole trajectory of that program. They need him. Smothers ain't him.
No. Then you move on to the MAC. It went about the way it was going to go, right? It went the simplest way. Ohio beat Ball State. Ohio just had a bunch of big plays. I mean, they're better than Ball State, and they showed it. A bunch of big plays. They win 42-21. Coleman Owen, big time game at the receiver spot for Ohio. So that's going to be. So they of course get Miami. Miami looking to repeat. Miami. That Miami Bowling Green game, Jeff. Let me give you the rundown on this game. This game, here's how it started. Punt, interception, punt, touchdown, punt, interception, punt, safety. Second half, even worse. Punt, interception, punt, 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 punt. That's your game. That's the whole game. How Miami scored 28 points with all that, I don't know. But the story is Bowling Green couldn't capitalize. Miami had 2 early turnovers, and Bowling Green couldn't get points out of it. That's your game.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was Miami's defense confusing Bazelak, but he didn't. He just looked like he was lost, trying to decipher what they were doing. They could not run the ball at all. Only 51 rushing yards on the day for Bowling Green, and that's your game. You know what I mean? You become one-dimensional. They don't have the guys outside of Fannin, and I don't know if he was 100%. I don't think he was. And you can't move the ball, and that's literally what the entire game was. It was so I had Bowling Green on a money line parlay, and shame on me.
Yeah, that's I'll tell you, Jeff. You know what you need to start doing is just.
I'm 4 for 5 or 3 for 4 on all these damn parlays, and it's one game. App cost me this weekend. But I'm excited for the MAC championship. That Parker Navarro kid is good.
He's a good player.
Dual threat. He is a lot faster than what you would think he is.
Yeah.
And
why would you think why wouldn't you think he's fast?
Well, because he doesn't. He's not like tall. He's not long. He's not long. His skin tone's a little light. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, there you go. That's the truth. That's what I was looking for, Jeff.
No, he's
Smart
a good player.
kid, though.
Yeah, he's a good player. And they got some pieces. Man, shout out to Alex Shear.
Spot on. Did he have him playing against Miami? I think so.
They did. I think he did. I think he called it.
How about Miami, too, to start the way they started? And you go back and look at their schedule. Like, they lost Cincinnati in a rivalry game. They lost to Northwestern by a score. And they lost to Notre Dame. And I mean, and they lost one MAC game, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they bounced back big time. And here we are again, right? Beginning of the year, we have all these predictions on who's going to be good. Middle of the year, it gets all chaotic. And then at the end of the year, who's playing well? Oh, Memphis. Should have known. Oh, Miami. Should have known. So Jacksonville State. We had them. I think we both probably had them in the championship or at least competing for it. And then beginning of the year, you're like, oh, they're terrible. Well, here we are hosting. So Mountain West. It is official. Play-in game. 1v2 in the group of 5, in my opinion. At Boise on the blue turf. Genty, last game on the blue turf, barring something wild, and they host a playoff game somehow or another. That game is going to be awesome, dude. I'm going to have that on my phone while we're in West Point. Boise beats Oregon State. I'm going to tell you what's interesting. Boise's starting to get healthy. They had their starting center was warming up. I don't think he played at all, but he warmed up. He was dressed. Genty had the elbow brace off. Look out. Because if they're healthy, if they can get by UNLV and survive, and if they can get the bye, they ought to have that whole O-line back, which that whole O-line, their starting center didn't even play in the Oregon game. They've been banged up all year long. So this is something to look out for. Now, the other thing to look out for, we were talking about this last week, Sire Gaines, the freshman, he got beat up and they ended up redshirting him. So after the 4th game, he was beat up a little bit. They ended up shirting him. But that other kid, Dunbar or I can't.
Yeah, Dubar.
He's been playing okay. He had some good little runs. He's just not, when they don't get the first 3-4 yards untouched, Genty's just the only one that can turn that into a big play.
Yeah.
I mean, he had another couple runs on Friday that were like, whew. Dude is something serious, Jeff.
Yeah, I hope my Raiders take him in the NFL draft. But, if you said if Boise can get healthy, especially up front, they're going to be a problem. Genty is just a generational talent. One of the best running backs I've seen. It's going to be a phenomenal game. It's hard to beat the same team twice. We say it all the time. And UNLV they're going to be ready to go. I'm just interested to see, with it being how cold it is.
Yeah.
Used to playing in Allegiant Stadium. It's a dome. That's always a factor. It's always a factor. And if my synopsis is this, and I know we'll preview this game later, but if you get a healthy Boise State team in 25, 30-degree weather, you're going to need to be able to run the ball. I don't know how UNLV is going to handle that.
Well, yeah, and the thing I'll say about UNLV is defensively, they're really, 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 really good. I mean, I know it's Nevada, but they played 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. I mean, so what that tells you is, without even looking at which plays that tells you they're putting them in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, every single series. And I'll also say, they played San Jose State last week in a downpour, and Haj Malik and Ricky White still found a way to have some big plays. So,
yeah, but it wasn't 30.
The cold is different. The cold is different.
Hey, how about this though, Sprouse? How about this? Wyoming beats Washington State.
Wild, huh?
And then you get Boise beating Oregon State. Come on, guys. Just come over to the Mountain West. Stop all this Pac-2 nonsense.
Yeah.
Just let it die. Build up the Mountain West to be the premier conference. Let's just keep it rolling. I don't understand it. Still seeing all this Texas State to the Pac-12 stuff. It's not going to be the same media deal. I promise you that. I promise.
That Mountain West will be, you see they're getting the Fox pregame shows going to the Boise game Friday. That's the other thing to look out for too, by the way, Jeff, is, UNLV played Saturday. Boise played Friday morning. That was like a 10 a.m. local or
Was it?
11 a.m. local. Yes.
Oh, I guess it was
they
after
were
Thanksgiving,
early.
yeah.
Is Boise on? They got to be on Mountain Time.
I assume.
Yeah, dude, that game was a 10 a.m. local start. Then I might be wrong, but I'm
Either
usually
way.
not. So, because it was 11 a.m. when I was in Alabama watching it, so that would be a 10 a.m. start, I believe. Anyway, but yeah, I do worry about that short week for UNLV. And yeah, that cold weather, it's going to be something. It's going to be cold there too. It wasn't just the money for Boise. It was going to be cold there. That was a wash between Boise and West Point. But anyway, then we got to talk about the Sun Belt. That's where the most intrigue happened. And of course, we had to wait till the last game of the night for that. Louisiana got it done against Monroe. They ran the ball well, 150 yards for Perry. Little concerned with Louisiana's run defense, though. They let Ahmad Hardy go for like 170 against them. And then, Chandler Fields played well. He played okay. Monroe, boy, finished the season on a 6-game losing streak.
That's tough.
Yeah. All that, again, this goes the opposite way too, right? You think Monroe's going to be bad. They win a few games, and now everybody's hyping them up. They're going to win the West, and then they lose out. So, tough break there.
Yeah. And then the East. So that summed up the West with Louisiana. Then you got the East. I was watching the App State Georgia Southern game very closely because I was one App State away from some big time money. And App has got to be one of the most undisciplined teams that I've watched. I mean, just penalty, like in such key moments. And then you get turnovers. And I'm like, Georgia Southern honestly was trying to give them every chance to win that game. And then they just blow it. They just blow it. And shout out to JC French. He played very well. Not a crazy stat line, 16 of 19, 166 yards, had a touchdown, no interception. But he had some timely runs that kept drives alive that allowed them to score touchdowns. And but unfortunately, their win didn't matter.
Well, that James Madison Marshall game was wild. What a game to end the season, right? To seal the deal for the Sun Belt Championship game. I mean, James Madison jumps on him quick, and James Madison's defense was playing lights out. Marshall could not do anything offensively, and then they get that pick six. And then all of a sudden it's a new game. And then it just got to be, it was overtime. The officiating was just bad. I know everybody's going to the officials. That face mask was awful.
That was egregious.
But they scored like 2 plays later. So, it didn't really affect the game. And then I'm going to tell you, you got to give credit. I'm going to give some credit to specialists again, because you botched that one exchange on the game winner. To go back out there like a couple plays later and nail it is pretty good. It was the punter, and he had a damn good game punting the ball. So I want to give credit there, but that's tough to do because you very easily could get the yips right there and not be able to get the next snap down. And then shout out to Marshall getting creative on the 2-point conversion, going almost the Philly special looking play.
Yeah.
And they get in and get the win. James Madison fans are not excited.
No.
They are unhappy.
They tend to be unhappy.
Well, and then of course Chesney got in their post game talking about you got to donate to NIL and this and that. Well, yeah, but a lot of fans take that when coaches do that. They take that as like excuse making, and it is, but they're right also.
Yeah,
and I think people really have to understand that the expectations really have to dampen a little bit in this new landscape of college football, unless you have some massive NIL, because you're not going to be able to, it don't matter who you are. You're not going to be able to keep guys. It'll be rare when you see, you go back and you look at the NCAA tournament every year, and there's always that mid-major, right, that has 5 seniors that somehow stayed there, and they make a run because they're playing the Kentuckys and the Dukes of the world, who are just loaded with 5-star freshmen, bunch of NBA guys, but they're freshmen, and you'll see this team full of seniors be able to beat them. So
yeah,
that's what I think is going to be tough in football too, is can you keep a group together? And that's going to be the team that unexpectedly makes a run when they're loaded with upperclassmen.
Yeah, and it's not even just keeping guys together is important, but you got to keep your top guys. I think we're going to get into the situation where the Jalen Royals, Torrey Horton, Ashton Genties of the world, Quinyon Mitchell, there's a reason why there's only a handful of those guys, because most kids jump at the money or jump at an agent telling them that they got a lot of money coming or could have that potential. But again, are you going to get the same amount of snaps and opportunities at another program than you are at the school that recruited you out of high school, or whatever the case may be, has been good to you, been taking care of you, you know what you're going to get? I don't know. You just look at everything. If you're a player and an agent's telling you one thing, talk to your coach. Talk to the guy that has been in your corner the entire time. I promise you he cares about you. And if he's a good person, he's going to shoot you straight and be honest with you. And some guys aren't. But the coaches, I've been lucky to have some great coaches, and I didn't have to deal with NIL or any of that, but they were honest, and they told me exactly what the deal was. And I think there's more of those than we think.
Yep. And then I think, the relationship with your teammates, man, is something you can't, any whatever success or, relationships that we've been able to get through this platform, 99% of it has been through people we played with, coaches we had, any of that stuff have put us in touch. So these relationships later on, and that's just not with a college football podcast, right? You need a job later on in life, right? These are guys that have connections all over the place. They're going to help you. So, but anyway, we got a couple voicemails, Jeff. You guys call that hotline. We'll play these. We'll respond, and then we'll get out of here and see you Wednesday morning. We'll probably preview all these championship games, pending what we plan to do Friday. Jeff and I'll figure that one out. 615-900-4286 is the hotline. Let's see what we got.
Man, it is a great day to be a Troy Trojan. Yeah, the overall record didn't show the season that obviously had the previous 2 seasons and seasons past. Finished season 4-8. Finished on a high note, winning 3 of the last 4. My math is correct. Man, I'm very excited about Troy's future. Just a lot of great improvements in the second half of the season. Defensively, offensively. I mean, first and foremost, shout out to Damian Taylor, DT3, rushing for over 1,000 yards. Shout out to Devontae Ross, our first receiver we've had since 2012 to have over 1,000 yards receiving, considering the previous receivers we have had who I've played with personally. Pass receivers, shout out to Jabri Barber, once a Trojan, always a Trojan, going out playing against Texas tonight. And then, we have Ted Johnson, who he does claim us. He's been in multiple interviews where he still claims Troy, so shout out to Tez. Those 2 gentlemen, Jabri finished the season last year, I think, 1 or 2 yards short of 1,000 yards receiving. So, again, shout out to Devontae. Just really excited how the season ended. Trojan faithful, I've said it from literally week 1. The expectations were it was going to be a rough season. Still a lot of bright spots. For a team that is young, we improved week over week. I mean, again, we had a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver. Considering the great teams we have had, we did not have a 1,000-yard receiver. Now, we had over 1,000-yard rushers several times. But 1,000-yard receiving, shout out to Matthew Caldwell for, nutting up second half of the season and playing well with Goose out hurt. very excited going into the off season, watching these guys grow. Transfer portal is going to be crazy, but the Trojan Collective is getting right. Shout out to Chuck. Shout out to Jason. Trojan Collective. Shout out to everybody involved in that. Just one hell of a season, the way to end up. What a way to finish the season. Shout out to the team again. Thank you to our seniors, forever and always. One Troy.
Appreciate you, Zach. Yeah, I think the future's bright for Troy.
Agreed. Yeah, they started slow, but we kept talking about it. They kept getting better and better and better. Finish out the season with a big win. Now, what do we talk about? Now they got momentum going into the offseason. They got a collective that's got their stuff together. So should have a big offseason for Troy. And now you're going to have some expectations next year. So get ready.
Let's get to the next one.
Another double-digit win season for the Cajuns. Damn, feels good. Fourth double-digit win season in past 6 years. And, man, that feels good, bro. Hosting a conference championship game. Marshall's coming through. Dez and the boys, have just proven all the naysayers wrong, right, including me. It feels good. I wish I could come. I wish I could be there, but I can't. It was an ugly game against Monroe. And, just starting out their season 5-1 to end with, 6 straight losses. It sounds like a Monroe-type season, But, hey, kudos to Coach Brian Vincent. I hope he can eventually get Monroe up and running, but they just need to remember who little brother is, all right? Marshall's coming through. Great game that they had against JMU. So entertaining. I was really going for JMU because I didn't know whether if Marshall won, who would host the game over those computer rankings. But the Cajuns are hosting it, so it don't matter. We'll be ready. Coach Huff, he's probably just going to stop by Hattiesburg to interview for the Southern Miss job on his way down to Lafayette. So his mind's not going to be on the game, So Marshall fans are, they've been wanting to beat us ever since we played them in the New Orleans Bowl was 3 years ago. Ever since we got a late hit on their player, which I admit was a dirty hit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch that bowl game back in 2021, or the Marshall fans will tell you. But they've been bitching and moaning and complaining, and they had 2 shots to beat us, and they didn't. They had a shot. They had their opportunity to take a shot at the King, and they missed. They missed both times. All right. So the blundering turds will come down to the swamp and just try to handle business there, all right? We'll be there, all right? So happy for this team. So happy for Dez. And we are the best team in Louisiana. Tulane is not hosting a championship game. The team across the basin, their season's over, But the number 1 team in Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, have a championship game this Saturday, all right? It's going to be a fun one. Hope to see you guys there. Even with a half-built stadium, I hope it gets filled out. This town needs to support this team. Lafayette needs to support the best team in Louisiana. God bless Group of 5. God bless Group of 5, guys. Go fucking Cajuns, son.
Jeff.
I felt like I had to leave that one in.
Jeez. Could be kids watching.
Not this early.
Man, I might have to turn off my socials because I'm really I could be convinced probably to still find a way to get to Lafayette on Saturday. I probably
that's not
could
that
be.
far of a drive for you.
Yeah, but it is far from Atlanta, and my flight doesn't get back to Atlanta. I should have.
You can always change it.
The issue here, because I could fly from LaGuardia to New Orleans and drive, but then my truck will be in Atlanta. And then I'm not trying to fly. Yeah, no, I'm not doing. We'll figure something out. We'll see. Maybe next year.
Appreciate you, Terry. Happy for the Cajuns too. They've had a great season.
Yeah.
Now can they finish it off with the title? That's the question. We'll keep this thing rolling. We got 2 left.
Group of 5 guys. It's Sunday here in Georgia. Victory Sunday. Georgia Southern first winning season since 2020. I'm pretty sure it's like our first undefeated road schedule since like 2018. man, does it feel good to finally get over that hump. Well, we're not fully over that hump yet. We got to get us a conference title. Speaking of that, Marshall's a good football team. Can't complain. They're damn good. Obviously the best in the East. JMU couldn't get it done, but it looks like Huff is heading on down a Southern Miss, which I don't quite understand. Maybe y'all know something. Maybe there's a Marshall fan that listens on here that can give us some insight on that. But, JC French, she had a good game last night, beat App State 29-20, 16 for 19, 166 yards and a touchdown. He also had 51 yards on the ground with his feet. And Jalen White, 18 carries, 125, 3 scores, man. Golly, he's missed the last 2 games against App State. Previous 2 years due to injury, finally getting him back one more time for Jalen White. Josh Dallas is still a freaking monster. 13 total tackles, 3 solos and a TFL, and, great game, beat App State, and, Murph, Sprouse, I can't remember if Sprouse picked that, but, Murph, appreciate the jinx. Can't thank you enough for that, but, hey, shout out good friend Taylor Henson. I know he listens to the y'all show, and he got to run out with the team. So he's 1-0 with running out on the team. So, hey, looking forward to next season. Got a bowl game left, and God bless the group of 5 guys. Hail Southern.
Big win. Big win. Big season for Georgia Southern. A lot of people want to help him fired very early on in the season, even before the season.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted Helton gone. They wanted French out of there. You can't just get rid of everybody. You gotta put a team on the field.
Exactly. Be careful for what you wish for.
Yep.
All right, let's get to our last one.
Group of 5 guys. Joe Judkins here. Well, the Trojans put a beat down on the foul from Hattiesburg and showed that we do have the talent to compete when we're finally healthy enough to play football the Troy way. Pound the rock, play action, beat that ass. Junior Damian Taylor ended up with over 1,000 yards rushing. Junior Devontae Ross ended up with more than 1,000 yards receiving. It was a good year. Troy faithful can wrap up this season with the proverbial if'a, woulda, coulda. If grasshoppers had machine guns, fellas, the birds wouldn't with them. It was what it was. That being said, I sure think there's a lot to look forward to in Troy. We saw this team come back, play down the stretch, and showed everyone in the Sun Belt we will be back. With senior day, had our alumni fish fry, spouse, we missed you, and honored some incredible Trojans. Specifically, we honored senior football players, all 11 of them. As I tweeted Saturday after we got home, we have a cupboard full of talent of returners from our 2D and lots to be thankful for in Troy, Alabama. To my Sun Belt brethren from Louisiana and from Marshall, Sauce Bon. It's going to be lit in Louisiana next Saturday night. Red beans and rice, shrimp, crawfish, etouffee, gumbo, Abita beer, Zydeco music. It will be fire. Things we learned this year, fellas. Sunbelt officials are worse than an 80-year-old prostitute trying to screw you. Disgusting. Tulane spit the bit like a mule with a bull on its ass and just missed an opportunity to have 2 G5 schools in the playoffs. Boise did what Boise does, just won. Flag planting is going to cause someone to seriously get hurt, and the coaching carousel is now open. Neil Brown's gone at West Virginia, and is Chadwell the next coach there? Who knows? Lastly, I've changed my mind. I think you boys hit West Point for the American Championship. Grab the red-eye to Nola and be in Lafayette by mid-morning. Plenty of time to set up, go live for a pregame assessment before the 6 o'clock kickoff. See, it's easy. So appreciate you, fellas, what you do, and how you go about spreading the word. God bless you guys. Be safe in your travels, and go Trojans.
Appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate your support as always. Epic call.
Jeff, I'm going to probably look at some other flights today.
You have at it, brother.
I mean, when he was describing the tailgate scene, I mean, my God, the etouffee, the boudin. I mean, my God, Jeff.
I know.
Something special.
I want to get down there, but it's going to be tough for me.
No, yeah, I get it. Yes, I mean, it ain't. It's very unlikely. That all we got, voicemail-wise?
That's it.
Guys, regular season's over. We will do a show Wednesday morning. We will preview these 5 conference championship games. Maybe we might just do
the 4.
Maybe just the 4, or maybe I don't know, maybe just the 3 Saturdays, because Friday you got the American and the Mountain West and Conference USA, so there's only 2 Saturday. But we'll talk about that on Wednesday. We'll probably talk about a little Heisman Trophy candidacy from our guy Ashton Genty. And then we'll be fighting the cold up at West Point. We should get some good video and I mean, Jeff, honestly, I bet if you followed me around with a camera for 2 days, I'm going to be so miserable.
I just want to see you back in a chow hall, back in the barracks. Yeah, they might not even let you in that place.
They probably got a sign at the main gate, picture of me on the thing that says, "If you see this guy, call military police immediately." I saw my old buddy from Air Force over the weekend too. We were reminiscing about my travels, the odyssey of Matt Sprouse. If Army had performed a little better against Notre Dame, there would still be some weird shot, at one of them getting in. And if that was the case, I mean, I may jump in the Hudson if Army was going to make the playoff.
Talk about a cold plunge.
Yeah. But anyway, can't wait to get up there. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us on the chat. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. Hope you have an awesome week. Stay warm, stay healthy, and get ready for some electric football on Friday and Saturday. We're out of here.